standing here with my American brothers and sisters. It has nothing to do with race. It has nothing to do with color. It's all about your character. And we don't have character in Washington, D.C. But I'm telling you right now, I'm going up there and I'm going to drain that cesspool. It is time to understand one very important thing about the United States of America. The United States of America in 233 years. Look at this great country. I've been to 13 different countries. I've been in 3 different combat zones. There is no other country greater than these United States of America. And the thing that built this great country, the thing that built America is not government. The thing that built America, each and every one of you that are standing out here right now, and your parents and your grandparents that afforded you those opportunities where you could be successful in this country. That is what we must continue to fight for, and God bless these young kids that are here right now. The most important thing that we have got to get reestablished in Washington, D.C., and indeed at state level and local level governments, is a sense of fiscal security for the American people.
That's right.
Because investment, ingenuity, innovation, economic growth does not come from the public sector. It comes from the private sector. It comes from each and every one of you out here. Help me. There was a very, very telling statistic that came out. 47%. 47% of Americans aren't paying taxes. But yet 47% of Americans vote. So if you have the right type of government that is focusing on centralizing and controlling people instead of empowering people, you can get free health care. You can get free education. You can get a free car. You can get free whatever you want, appliances. But it'll all be on the backs of that other 53%. And that is not how America was established. America is established by each and every one of us. As we say back in the inner city of Atlanta, Georgia, you got to have some skin in the game. And if we continue to have a government which continues to create victims and continue to make people dependent upon them, you will have a situation where we have Americans that want to sit at home and continue to get extended unemployment benefits instead of getting out and working. That's not the work ethic. And I see a sign that says, share my work ethic. That's exactly what we need to be doing. Sharing the work ethic, not sharing the wealth of this great country. If we're not careful, as the government continues to grow, because they have so many dependent upon them, they will continue to do the 3 things that you're not supposed to do in the economic situation in which we find ourselves. They'll continue to print more money, they'll continue to borrow more money, and they will continue to tax us to death. And that's why you're here. Because T stands for taxed enough already. We cannot live in a country where the next thing you know, the marginal tax rate will be 70%. We cannot live in a country where the progressive tax system that we have has now become a vehicle and a tool for class warfare, which will pit a production class against an entitlement class. And if it becomes 47%, what happens when it becomes 50%? And what happens when they make it 55%?
No more money.
There is no more money, and the production class stops producing. And that has been the paradigm all across the world when it comes to production class stopping to produce. Margaret Thatcher said it, and I said it when I spoke with Sean Hannity. Socialism is great until you run out of other people's money. They are not going to do the things that are right by you, the American people, which means lessening the tax burden. They're not going to do the things that are right by you, the American people, which means cut back on the spending. We should sit back and look at every single government agency and program that's been created since 1970 on. And first of all, across the board, 15% reduction right now.
Yes!
And then we need to look and see, are they viable? Do they make sense? How do they benefit? How do they fit within the mandates of the Constitution to establish justice, to support our general welfare, to provide for our common defense, to secure the blessings of liberty for each and every one of us? If we don't get back to understand that this is a constitutional republic, which means rule of law is preeminent, which means that the respect of the individual, the liberal progressive legislative agenda is all about the collective. It's all about putting us into groups and pitting us against each other. And that is not what is America about. America is about empowering the individual, not enslaving the individual. And that's what we have to get away from. Each and every time there's a tax that is created that takes a little bit more of your liberty away. Because as my daughters always say, Dad, can we go to the movie this week? Well, I'm sorry, because Mr. Obama just took Dad's money. If we don't get back to realizing the basic principles, Keynesian economic theory of tax and spend did not work. It has been always written and tested that where taxation is lightest, revenues increase. But until you get people in Washington, D.C. that are concerned about you being empowered, not their own self-interest, not their own special interests, we're heading down the road to perdition. And if we're not careful, because they're afraid of you, they're afraid of your voice, they know that you're coming after them. This summer, be on the lookout for an amnesty bill. And if an amnesty bill comes through, that means 12 to 15 million new citizens that the Acorn and the SEIU machine will get out there and register them and vote. And guess what? Are they going to be in the production class? Or are they going to be in the entitlement class? And therefore, the next thing you know, it becomes 55% and creeps on to 60%. And the United States of America, as we know it, the United States of America that my grandparents and my parents left to me, will be gone. I'm asking one simple thing of you. For 22 plus years of my life, when that phone rang, and many of you never knew who I was, I answered that phone call. I left my wife, I left my daughters, because I knew that it was important for you to sleep peacefully at night. I knew it was important for you to have your life, your liberty, and your pursuit of happiness. What I seek to do now is to take off the fatigues, take off the boots, put on a suit and tie, but continue to honor the oath that I took on the 31st of July, 1982, when it said I would support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and there is no statute of limitations on that oath. I don't need to sign a pledge. I already signed my pledge back in 1982. This is our time. This is the defining moment. This is a decisive moment for the future and the legacy of the United States of America. And as Joyce said, I don't want to sit around one day and look at my children and grandchildren and say, I didn't have the courage to do it. I don't want to sit around and say, I didn't have the commitment to do it. I don't want to sit around and say, I didn't have the conviction. I didn't have the character. I think that now, we are on the edge of the greatest moment that the United States of America will ever know. Our greatest years are ahead of us, not behind us. And I need each and every one of you to believe that message and take it back to your friends. Take it to your liberal friends. Because you know what? Sooner or later, they're going to get tired of hearing it. But they need to know we're not going to lay down. We're not going to take it anymore. We're not going to allow them to continue to nationalize our production. We're not going to allow them to continue to create and expand the entitlement and the welfare class. We stand against the nanny state. We're not going to allow them to continue to create this debt so that China owns our foreign policy. We are not going to allow them to ruin the country that our founding fathers left to us. I want to close by saying this. I'm the liberals' worst nightmare.